morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today in the detailed forecast update coming your way, we're going to be talking about some rainfall and showers expected to develop across New South Wales, which could turn into potentially severe thunderstorms across the state and parts of Queensland over the coming couple of days. A rainfall event currently unfolding across central parts of Queensland, and a rainfall event forecast to unfold across New South Wales. A cold front that's expected to bring some wet and wild conditions to WA to close off winter, and then a general weather forecast up in the tropics. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. We're getting closer and closer to 20,000, which is our goal by the end of the year, and all the support lately on the videos has been much appreciated. But let's get stuck straight into things this morning, starting things off over in the southeast of Queensland and the northeast of New South Wales, where over the coming couple of days we're going to have a developing round of severe thunderstorms, or potentially severe thunderstorms, in pretty much every evening on the forecast now. So if you take a look at the weather forecast right now, there are currently a couple of showers currently occurring around Lightning Ridge, Moree, Tamworth and Armidale in the central highland regions of New South Wales, or into the northern highland regions of New South Wales, and that is connected to a coastal trough that is stretching down the inland parts of Queensland and attached to a low pressure system, brings some significant rainfall to central parts of Queensland. More on that later on in the video, but we're most interested in this weather scene right now. And if we play this forecast through, you can see later on this afternoon and evening a round of severe thunderstorms, or potentially severe thunderstorms, will develop. Now these thunderstorms are going to be developing mostly in the New South Wales side of things. You can see thunderstorms stretching right from the Victoria-New South Wales border up to the Queensland-New South Wales border, and even a couple of potentially severe thunderstorms up around the St. George, extending out towards Charlottesville area in the more central southern parts of Queensland. So they are going to be quite widespread. Now the chance of severe thunderstorms tonight does remain very low, especially for New South Wales, but we could see one or two thunder cells around the south central part of Queensland, specifically around the Thallon or the St. George or Lightning Ridge area in New South Wales, fire up into a severe thunder cell with isolated spots of damaging winds and heavy rainfall. However, I'm not expecting anything too significant at all. The temperatures are going to be pretty conducive for some strong thunderstorm activity. It's going to get quite warm across parts of central southern Queensland today, in stark contrast to how southeastern Queensland has been feeling. It's been pretty chilly there the last couple of days. However, that's going to change as we roll into tomorrow, with potentially severe thunderstorms now dominating the forecast across northeastern New South Wales for Tuesday, i.e. tomorrow. So take a look at this. Tuesday afternoon, or even by the early afternoon, this is at midday, we're starting to see some thunderstorms develop along a line between Taree up towards Coffs Harbour, Grafton, Lismore and Warwick in the southeastern corner of Queensland. Now these thunderstorms here continue to fire up into the early afternoon and evening hours, and we will be seeing potentially severe thunderstorms fire up in a pretty isolated corner around Warwick and Boonah and south of Toowoomba along the New South Wales-Queensland border, specifically where I'm highlighting in the cursor right now. Now we could also be seeing some potentially severe thunderstorms. They will have a very low chance of firing up, but they're still on the forecast as a slight risk at this time outside of the Brisbane area in the northeastern suburbs of Brisbane, but again the chances there are looking fairly low, at least in the early afternoon and evening. Once we get to around 4 or 5 p.m, the chance of severe thunderstorms will completely diminish, and whatever storms we do have will continue to weaken from that time onwards. I'm not really expecting these storms to roll into Brisbane or the Gold Coast and bring significant rainfall there. It is a pretty interesting forecast here. We're just expecting some slow-moving pulse thunderstorms to blow up in the early afternoon to early evening hours. And with those pulse thunderstorms, we do get the typical risk of some isolated pockets of heavy rainfall, because they will be slow-moving, and some damaging winds here and there. It isn't looking like it's going to be all-out mayhem tomorrow, so don't start panicking at all with this thunderstorm forecast. It isn't going to be that significant, especially for the southeast of Queensland, but there is still the chance of some severe thunderstorms. Like I said, pulse thunderstorms, so they will be slow moving and they will collapse in on themselves pretty quickly, which means they're not going to be affecting too many areas. So those that do get thunderstorms and showers tomorrow will be in the lucky few, in the minority to say the least, but we still could be seeing some potentially severe impacts, i.e. heavy rainfall and damaging winds. Now that's not to say in the central parts of New South Wales, specifically around the Hillston, Cobar area, that we could be seeing some severe thunderstorms. We're expecting a line of potentially severe thunderstorms to develop along a trough line extending out of Griffithton Hay right up towards Moree and Lightning Ridge in the northern parts of the state. Now this line here, which you can see quite clearly and quite evidently on this rainfall forecast, could have some pretty nasty cells in it, potentially supercell thunderstorms as well. However, the most likely mode of thunderstorms is going to be pulse thunderstorms, once again bringing the same impacts that we've just talked about in the southeast of Queensland and the northeast of New South Wales. It's still going to be pretty interesting indeed. And get this as well, throughout the remainder of New South Wales, extending into even South Australia and Victoria, we've got some scattered thunderstorms as well expected to fire up, so it's going to be a pretty widespread day of some pretty gnarly thunderstorms here and there. Once you get into South Australia and into the western half of New South Wales, the thunderstorms are going to be pretty weak and very hit and miss as well. Same story for Victoria, so they're really not worth too much discussion over there. But again, we will need to watch the radar quite closely because we could be seeing some potentially severe thundercells firing up across central New South Wales and into the northeast of the state and the southeast of Queensland as well. Now, the day that's got my head turned for the highest chance of potentially severe thunderstorms, specifically in the northeast of New South Wales and the southeast of Queensland, is Wednesday, and specifically around the late afternoon to early evening time, 4 to 5 p.m. is when I'm highlighting the greatest chance of severe thunderstorms firing up. Again, same area, that really isolated spot in the southeastern corner of Queensland around the Toowoomba, Warwick, Boonah, Beaudesert and Ipswich sort of area, and most likely not making it into Brisbane or the Gold Coast either, but we could still be seeing some pretty significant thundercells fire up. Again, pulse thunderstorms look to be the most likely mode, not supercells like we have seen over the last couple of days in the southeastern corner of Queensland, so that risk of heavy rainfall, straight line damaging winds, and the potential for some small hailstones also does remain, but we're not expecting torrential rainfall or large hailstones that we typically see in those supercell thunderstorms. It looks like we're going to have to wait a couple more days until we get some supercell thunderstorms firing up in Queensland again. But all in all, the chance of severe thunderstorms is there for both Tuesday and Wednesday, so make sure you are staying weather aware on Tuesday and Wednesday in the southeastern corner of Queensland. It is certainly going to be an interesting afternoon and evening on the forecast. Those thunderstorms completely withering away by the late evening and early night time hours, and there really isn't much expected behind this sort of system here. Again, Thursday we do see the chance of some thunderstorms firing up closer towards the Brisbane and the Gold Coast metro areas as well, but we're not really expecting anything significant there, and they will be pretty hit and miss, the thunderstorms on Thursday. Once again, pulse thunderstorms, so most likely non-severe storms as well, and a couple of showers also expected to fire up on Friday. This is another day that I wanted to be talking about as well. We could be seeing a round of severe thunderstorms by Friday evening, but again, the forecast is now a little bit more uncertain for that, and it's also 5 days away, so there is a lot that can change here. But around the Warwick and Toowoomba area, and then down towards Stranthorpe and Glen Innes in the northern parts of New South Wales and the extreme southern parts of southeastern Queensland, we could be seeing some potentially severe thundercells fire up by Friday afternoon and evening before they blow into the Brisbane and the Gold Coast areas. But this is something that I'm going to be talking about more so on the Wednesday or Thursday forecast. This is more so a heads up here because I'm not 100% certain on what's going to be happening or what to expect on Friday afternoon, but you can make a pretty good guess. Pulse thunderstorms, which could potentially later on in the afternoon turn into straight line squall thunderstorms, blowing into the Brisbane and the Gold Coast area and bringing some substantial rainfall there. But at this time, a lot can change with the forecast, so we will give a detailed update on these thunderstorms amiss, at least for today. And then pulling the forecast through further, you can see Saturday and Sunday the chance of showers does remain for the southeastern corner of Queensland, but it looks like we've got 4 or 5 days clear of thunderstorms before what could be another thunderstorm outbreak at the end of next week to finish off October, but that is a story for another day. So we've done a good job covering New South Wales and Queensland. I would just like to bring things back towards New South Wales, at least for Wednesday, Thursday onwards, because we're talking about thunderstorms firing up pretty consistently across parts of New South Wales from Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday across much of central parts and western parts of the state before another low pressure system sweeps through on Thursday. Now, this low pressure system here is actually going to be quite strong and bring some substantial thunderstorms and rainfall to parts of New South Wales, Victoria and much of the northern coast of Tasmania. So take a look at this. From Friday onwards, we're going to see a line of showers and potentially thunderstorms develop across parts of South Australia and into New South Wales. It's going to be a warm one as well overnight. Temperatures not going below the mid-20s on Friday morning. It's going to be very warm indeed, just with the humidity and the hot air being dragged in through this line of thunderstorms and showers. But this low pressure system throughout the course of Friday sweeping into the Bass Strait and impacting areas of Tasmania and Victoria with some heavy rainfall and potentially severe thunderstorms as well. But the main story is going to be in the southeastern corner of New South Wales, specifically around Wagga Wagga, Albury, and even the Canberra sort of area as well. Not often we talk about the Canberra weather scene, but it looks like Friday evening we're going to get a line of powerful thunderstorms developing in this corner of New South Wales, which will then later on in the afternoon and evening blow through Canberra, bringing potentially severe thunderstorm conditions to Canberra to round off the working week and kick off the weekend. So it will be an interesting night indeed, and certainly something we're going to need to watch quite closely on the forecast here, because these thunderstorms do look like they're going to have a very healthy setup in terms of potentially going severe warned. And we've got a lot of rainfall just in general to be talking about, and this is what I'll talk about for the next couple of minutes. Over the next week or so, we've got some substantial rainfall accumulations on the forecast for parts of New South Wales, specifically around the Orange, Dubbo and Parkes area, with rainfall being piling on for the coming couple of days, just with thunderstorms blowing through the area. The highest chance of rainfall will, of course, be on Thursday and Friday, with those thunderstorms blowing through, specifically Friday night, but we could be seeing up towards 75 millimetres of the stuff around Orange and that sort of area. And then outside of Canberra, down towards the Thredbo and the Kosciuszko area as well, we could be seeing between 40 and 60 millimetres there, and even into the northern parts of New South Wales, accumulations between 40 and 80 millimetres look possible over the next 7 days, and some patchy decent accumulations as well expected into the western half of the state, much needed rainfall out there, and some good rainfall as well into the southeast of Queensland. So yeah, quite a lot is happening on the rainfall forecast for New South Wales. Certainly an interesting one, certainly one that we're going to be giving quite a bit of attention to over the coming couple of days in these weather forecasts. And speaking of rainfall, let's go and give far north Queensland or central Queensland a little bit of love. They've had some substantial rainfall accumulations overnight, with a little bit more rainfall streaming ashore now. Highest accumulations outside of Gargett and Mount Yalbury, outside of Mackay, have been 116 millimetres over the past 12 hours. So some very decent accumulations have been reported out there from some isolated heavy showers streaming ashore, and those heavy showers to moderate rainfall accumulations as well around the Moranbah, Claremont, Emerald, Dingo sort of area are continuing throughout the morning hours. They're expected to continue to ease off throughout the course of today. The heavy showers will also be easing off throughout the course of today between Townsville down towards Mackay, and I was right about the Townsville rain dome. That has been in full swing. Townsville struggling to pick up any decent rainfall accumulations at all, when places around it have been picking up widespread accumulations between 20 and 50 millimetres. So some very decent rainfall for this part of central Queensland, and their first decent rainfall in quite a number of months as well, probably since the last wet season, give or take a couple of days up there. But some heavy showers are still streaming ashore, so the rainfall will continue to rise, and we're also expecting some good rainfall expected up in the Cassowary coast as well throughout the course of today, around the Innisfail and Tully area, up towards 50 millimetres of the stuff later on today and into early tomorrow morning before the rainfall eases off there. So far north Queensland could also get a serving of rainfall over the next 48 hours, and that's on top of the rainfall that's already been falling for central parts of Queensland. Much needed rainfall there, and it's been very good to see on the forecast. And like I said, surprisingly high accumulations as well. Yesterday I was talking about peak accumulations up towards 80 or 90 millimetres, and that for the most part has been correct. But outside of Mount Gargett, we have had a peak accumulation. I believe it was at Clive Dam or something like that, of 116 millimetres over the past 12 hours. Very healthy rainfall accumulations indeed, and like I said, much welcome for this part of central Queensland. However, the rainfall will be easing off throughout the course of today, and those showers withering away by tonight. Now, just before I finish this video off or talk about a tropical update, we've got a little bit of stuff to be talking about over in Western Australia. So a weak cold front is expected to brush through the southwest throughout the course of today, reaching the Perth metro area by around 4 p.m. tonight. And that's going to bring a couple of showers through as well, as this southern annular mode really does peak in quite a tremendous fashion, which is bringing this late season winter weather. Now, another cold front expected to move through on Wednesday. This one's going to be an interesting one indeed, a slow moving one with a pretty thick rain band expected to be attached to it. And this is going to bring some warm temperatures Wednesday afternoon to parts of the inland wheat belt, and then into the goldfields as well, and maybe even into the Gascoyne. We'll be seeing some pretty warm temperatures on Wednesday before this cold front makes passage along the southwest capes at around 4 or 5 p.m, brushing through Perth at around 4 p.m, and then into some of the northern communities such as Jurien Bay and Geraldton by around 3 or 4 p.m. up there. Now, this cold front here isn't expected to be too significant in terms of wind speeds, but it still could pack rainfall accumulations up towards 15 millimetres, which is quite decent for this time of the year, and will certainly bring the October rainfall accumulations up to being substantially wetter than average. We've had some good rainfall already this October, with some more rainfall now on the forecast, so it is going to be quite a wet one, and then the rainfall clearing out by sunrise on Thursday. But that's not all that I wanted to be talking about. Take a look at this. So on Wednesday night, with the passage of this cold front, we're going to be seeing some showers and thunderstorms develop across eastern parts of the wheatbelt communities, and then into parts of the Great Southern and the goldfields as well, specifically between Ravensthorpe, Kalgoorlie, and then across towards Rulweena and Eucla over in far eastern Western Australia, and that includes communities such as Norseman, Salmon Gums and Esperance, which could be receiving some pretty significant rainfall accumulations from thunderstorms late Wednesday afternoon and into Wednesday evening. And these thunderstorms certainly look like they're going to pack a punch in terms of severity, with some heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and potentially large hailstones as well, as these storms turn from pulse storms into squall modes. It is certainly going to be an interesting one indeed on the forecast, and we're going to have to keep a very close eye on the radar Wednesday night into Thursday morning because these storms do look to pack a punch, that's for sure. But for Perth, in terms of thunderstorms, don't really expect anything. There could still be a couple of thunderstorms Wednesday afternoon and evening, and maybe even into very early Thursday morning as well. But in terms of rainfall, between sort of 10 and 15 millimeters looks to be possible, but it's going to be a pretty patchy 10 to 15 millimeters. Some locations, such as the southern suburbs, could miss out completely, and the northern suburbs look to be picking up the most amount of rainfall. We'll revisit this at another time, and I'll give a more detailed forecast update on this weather scene tomorrow, because it is still a little bit uncertain at this time. Now, just before I finish this video up, I want to give just a brief tropical update as well. We've got some showers and thunderstorms now firing up pretty consistently over the Northern Territory and parts of WA as well. In fact, we've had some good rainfall overnight as well around Wadeye in the northwestern parts of the Northern Territory, just outside of Darwin, with rainfall accumulations up towards 15 millimeters from thunderstorms that have continued to blow through and blow up throughout the course of this morning. Now, as you can see, rainfall accumulations over the next 10 days are not letting up either. In fact, Darwin itself expecting up towards 85 millimeters of the stuff over the next 10 days, just from consistent thunderstorms that are going to be blowing up. Nothing unusual for this time of the year either, with these thunderstorms now being pretty consistent in the afternoon and evening hours. You can see right throughout the course of this week, they're very persistent over the northern parts of WA, and then into this weekend and into early next week, we're expecting some showers and thunderstorms to be much more persistent over parts of the Northern Territory as well. So all in all, looking like a pretty wet run over parts of the Northern Territory and WA to kick things off for the wet season. Typical for this time of the year, but it is still some rainfall that I thought was worth mentioning. And for those up in the northern parts of the NT and WA, get ready, because the wet season is only weeks away from breaking for you guys up now, and it has moved very, very quickly over the past couple of weeks, with only a couple more weeks of the build-up expected to persist. But yeah, that basically does it for a forecast update. If I've left anything unanswered, then please do let me know in the comment section down below as well. Certainly some interesting stuff happening around the nation at this time. I'm going to keep you posted over the coming couple of days, so if you aren't already, please do consider subscribing. We're just 600 away now from the goal of 20,000, which we're going to steamroll through before 2025. But if you haven't already, please do consider subscribing, because the support in the videos has been much appreciated, and subscribing is the best way to get yourself access to the latest detailed forecast updates on the Australian weather scene. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not run this show without them, so again, their support is much appreciated. But that is all from me throughout the course of today, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.